Welcome to the World Congress of Digital Health and Dermatology, and this is the non-invasive imaging session. So I think it's prudent that we start with dermoscopy in the imaging session, is just because it's the most commonly used tool. In fact, we could call it as the stethoscope of a dermatologist, or what we call as the dermoscopy or a stethoscopy, whatever you want to call it. And then, are they moving now? Let's see. Yeah. So these are my conflicts of interest. I'm the current president of the International Society of Digital Health and Dermatology. So, show of hands, how many of you remember how we used to start with dermatoscope? These were small keyhole devices which we were using we were going so close to the patient that we would be like, almost, especially on the face, they would be like, what are you doing? But that's how small, tiny, it was almost like a keyhole. And it has evolved. So for the next 15 minutes, I'm going to give you an overview of how dermoscopy has evolved and how the industry has answered our needs and wants. And I'm going to talk to you about somebody who is not familiar with how dermoscopy images make a difference in the teledermatology consult. I'm going to show you some examples, give you an ideal way of integrating it in your practice, and then finally, how AI integrations happens with telemedicine and dermoscopy. So in the dermatoscope world, it's changed. Like, previously we used to just have what's called as this keyhole dermatoscope, then followed by, you can only use hybrid, like you can use only non-polarized models. I think a lot of you did train in non-hybrid, non-polarized models. And then came the polarized models, then there was these hybrids. So on the hybrids, there is a new addition to it. It's called the parallel polarization. And what does it do? It actually gives you visualization of both surface structures and subsurface structures at the same time. So previously you had to toggle between non-polarized and polarized. This parallel polarization helps you see both the structures right away. Magnification, like we would love it to be as big as possible. I always used to use a small iPad every time I used to take a picture attached to my dermatoscope. And the beauty of it is, like, when a patient sees it, they're happy. Oh wow, that looks nasty. That looks bad. Even if it's a seborrheic keratosis, that would look bad to them. But what I want to talk to you about is, like, as the dermoscopy has evolved from handheld ones to the digital ones, it's actually become more magnified. That it's almost called a super high magnification dermoscopy. I'm going to show you some examples of those. Enhancements. I think Dr. Oakley just talked to you about how UV light has been added into the dermoscopy, how orange light has been added to the dermoscopy, and digitalization of all of these dermatoscopes, right? Previously we used to say non-polarized dermatoscopes, polarized dermatoscopes, hybrid dermatoscopes. So this is what we used to talk about, but right now I think it's still handheld dermoscopy, which are hybrids, and then you have digital dermatoscopes, which kind of integrate with the larger models where you can store these images. And of course, when it becomes digitalized, you actually integrate it with AI, and it becomes an easier way to assess or use AI tools to integrate it. I'm not going to be talking a lot about automated whole body photography because that's another whole, I think Peter is going to be talking about it later. So this is the enhancement. This is 400x magnification. And for people like who do confocal, they do realize that these are melanocytes, are pigment cells, right? So if you look at the 400x dermatoscope, it almost mimics the way you can see at the confocal level. So that's another thing. And this is a close. That's the top is the image of the. Is that a pointer? So corner left is the regular 10x dermatoscope image. I think everyone makes a diagnosis on that. It's a basal cell. And when you kind of hone it down and magnify it at 400x, you can actually see each cells there. And then I think that's the beauty of it. And what does it all boil down to? You can even look at margins, and maybe like in future, if there are enough studies, we can actually delineate margins before even cutting out lesions. And the UV dermatoscope, like, it was actually introduced to see if we can see regressed, if you want to mark a margin, if you look at regression, it would be enhanced by using UV light. Like, so for melanoma regression, you could actually see it if you are not able to visualize through your regular dermatoscope, but adding UV light, it actually enhances that. But the cute thing, you know what these are? No, they're Demodex mites. Yeah, those, you actually can see that spiral bottom. So you don't even have to, so if you use a tape stripping on the face and then look under this UV light, you can actually see Demodex mites. And I think Amanda talked about this, called as the ball sign. So we recognize the delta sign for diagnosing scabies, but the ball sign actually shows the body of the scabies mite. So that's another enhancement by using UV dermoscopy. So to summarize, like, we have handheld hybrid scopes, which have like 10 to 20x magnifications most of the time. They're polarized, non-polarized, and parallel polarization. Orange color light and UV light are the enhancements. And these are digital scopes at 10x to 400x magnification. You can store the images. It can have integration with the AI, and you can do mobile teledermoscopy. And those are the automated total body photography images, total body photography devices, which are there. They're huge, but they work. So addition of dermoscopy in telemedicine. This is my, so I'm going to show you some examples. How many of you get dermoscopy images as a part of your teledermatology consult? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people. So how many of you would biopsy all of this? These are real cases. If you're from Michigan, you will understand this situation where when we lost to one of the rival teams, this was the most common event. That's what happens when you don't have a dermoscopy image, right? So I'll give you some 5 examples, and I think this is great. So how many of you would biopsy this? I don't have any hands up. I'm going to show you the dermoscopy image of this. How many of you will biopsy now? Pretty much all of you, right? Like, what you see is it's a pinkish background with white structures and polymorphous vessels. It's an amelanotic melanoma. And this is your clinical image. This is what came to you as the clinical image for teledermatology. And that's the story behind it. And you would have said, no, it's okay, let's watch, only to kind of come back and haunt you in the back, right? So this is my favorite image of all. Like, this happened in the clinic, and actually I called one of my seniors to come and take a look at this image. I was blown away. What do you guys think of this one? Not much, right? There is probably a scaling. They would have scratched, mild seborrheic dermatitis, right? What about now? It's a basal cell, right? Branched vessels, pigment clots, white clots. This is basal cell. So it's a game changer. And what about this? How many would biopsy this? It just looks like a stuck-on papule. And these are real cases, right? If you didn't get dermoscopy images with these, you will be missing these out. So, and now what do you think this is? Right? So you have white lines, negative network pattern in multiple colors. It's a melanoma. So it goes from a seborrheic keratosis, which is completely benign on your phenotype analysis, it becomes a melanoma. So adding dermoscopy images, and this is another cool case. He had his cat treated for fleas recently. So bug bites, yeah? Could be. And what should you guys be saying to me now? Show me the dermoscopy, right? So I showed you the dermoscopy. What do you guys think this is now? Delta sign, good. So that's what scabies. So imagine you getting a teledermatology consult for those papules and you didn't have a dermoscopy, you would have just treated with topical steroids. And there probably would be a Norwegian scabies spread in the living facility wherever they are living. So this is how it changes the whole, and even you can predict, whether the mite is laying on its back or on its body based on how the dermoscopy of the lesions are. And this is another beautiful case where, similar papules, you can't make a diagnosis based on what you see. And here it is. It's a molluscum contagiosum. So dermoscopy is for people who practice yoga. It's a third eye, high conscious, spiritual awakening, power of knowledge. Add dermoscopy, colors, pattern, symmetry, and pattern. It's my fifth eye. You know why it's the fifth eye? I got 4 already. So that's the one. So that's my fifth eye. I think I'll stop at that. Thank you very much.